Peace and progress have been session.
Two friends having casual conversations.
Yeah, right?
So we're going to take a little bit of a different turn. I know we've been talking a lot about relationships, but relationships aren't our only focus. And so we found a topic on cravings. So this one is about addiction. So trigger warning, possibly. Okay. Cravings fucking suck. For context, I'm 2 weeks sober off of opiates. Congratulations. Quit weed while I was at it and have tapered my benzos from unknown, probably like 2 to 3 milligrams of Xanax, to 5 milligrams of diazepam. And I'm finally sleeping more than 2 to 4 hours the past couple of nights. Finally have motivation. Today I cooked a good meal, I mowed the lawn, I saw my family, did some old hobbies, and set up equipment for new ones. Probably my best day in 6+ months. All day. All I can think about is just take some pills. Just take some pills and have a smoke and chill. Not out to music and come around 45 minutes later and take some more. I feel everything so intensely now. And now tonight, I've sat for a few continuous hours. And for the first time in weeks, I'm suddenly feeling so incredibly depressed. I miss the chaos and no sleep and pain and urgency of withdrawing. I mean, I probably don't. It was hell, but it felt like something. I feel so empty now. I feel like the weight of having to manage my brain and keep it busy and moving on, but I don't want to. I want to relax. I just want to sit and feel good. I thought after a busy day, I could relax and feel good tonight, but I couldn't. All I could think about was getting fucked up. I know 2 weeks is nothing. I've been sober for longer in the past, and I think that makes it worse because I know what's coming. I know I'm only going to get more restless and drive myself more crazy, but I can't go back to using at least until after August due to health reasons. Ugh. I really don't know if I can. I feel so jarred from feeling so hopeless and motivated, even in the depths of withdrawal, to this absolutely screaming need to get high. I fucking hate drugs, but I think I hate myself a lot more.
Mm, man. I think it's crazy that, he talks about being 2 weeks sober in the beginning, and then he talks about being 2 weeks is nothing. And, I think that kind of sucks because 2 weeks is something.
2 weeks is huge.
Yeah,
And I don't care how much clean time you've had in the past, 2 weeks is significant.
it is. And so, I mean, I would tell him that if I knew this person was, I'd be like, hey, just want to let you know 2 weeks is something.
No, it
You're
is.
sober today. You're fighting every being in your body right now not to get fucked up because
Right.
your body loves
He said, but I can't go back to using at least until after August. You set yourself up to relapse.
it. Yeah. That becomes a goal now. I just got to make it until then. I just got to make it until.
I hope the reasoning changes.
Yeah. And I hope more internal motivation comes about, And the very beginning, though, he talks about today I cooked, good meal, mowed the lawn.
Best
So,
day.
yeah, someone was leaving inpatient. I always used to ask them, so what are you going to do when you get out of here? And they're always like, I'm going to go see my friends. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go take a nap. I'm going to eat on my own. I'm going to go do all this fun stuff and everything. I was like, oh, okay. So what about like going to a meeting or getting a sponsor? Kelley, I just did like 30 days of meetings. I was like, yep. And you haven't learned that you're going to need to do a lot more sober supports,
Consistency.
Yeah. And me and you, we're both the same on this when it comes to sober support. It's like sober support is the function of having a group of people around you
To hold you accountable, like
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be A or NA. It could be smart recovery, refuge recovery.
I tell people it could be a fucking book club.
Yeah.
It could be a gym. Gym people get in with each other.
Mhm.
Right? And so long as you're like making connections and friendships with people who share similar interests, similar experiences, like, and that's all AA is it's support for people who are going through the same shit. When you're going to the gym, you're going through the same shit. You're trying to get fitness, you're trying to do all these things. It's about having a network of people who share your mindset, who can hold you accountable.
And that's why I've always been about group support, right? And outside of your family. Because family, yeah, it's just not. As far as long-term support, you need somebody.
It's faulty. Family's faulty.
Yeah.
Because while they can be your biggest support, they can also be your biggest source of contention.
Because you can convince them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we can convince our family, like one pill won't hurt.
Right.
It's just
it was when I relapsed and I came clean and I was telling everyone finally that I had relapsed, and I told my mom, and she's like, because I'd only relapsed for 10 days. She was like, does that really count?
And that's family.
Yes.
Family be like, does it really count?
And she was like, none of the things that happened when you were really getting loaded happened this time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really count.
Mm-hmm.
No, it really counts, homie. Like we got to be very honest about what happened there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he talks about all day, all I can think about is just take some pills. And I remember that feeling of just wanting to get fucking drunk, just wanting to be wasted. Opiates, like alcohol, it's a downer, and I'm a big downer person. I love if my brain, because of my ADHD and everything, if I could take something and it just squashes me down into nothingness, and I just have to think about nothing. It just is the best feeling I've ever had in my entire life. I once heard a famous saying: if anybody knew what it felt like to feel like this, they wouldn't ask me to stop. And it's true. If they knew what I felt like when I get this, they wouldn't ask me to stop.
I disagree with that because I think the only time you feel that is the first time. And then you spend the rest of your time chasing that. You don't ever feel it again.
I would say that for me, I did feel it again. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know what you're saying. You're chasing the first time, and I would say that's how come, when it comes to alcohol, you get that feeling you can drink for 10, 15, 20 years and still get that same first high you got.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I mean, all throughout my drinking,
I think that when you're drinking alcohol, I think you can drink non-problematically for a long time and get that feeling. But once you cross that threshold,
there is, yeah, you're drinking just not to be sick anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. And so I would say that, for me and my drinking history, I got to feel that feeling of the first drunk for my entire drinking history because I never fell into oh, well, now I'm drinking just to feel good. Right. If I didn't feel that feeling, I was drinking to that point. I kept going. And that's just for me, though. Like what he talks about is just he knows that he just wants his brain to calm down. I can feel it off the screen. That's what he wants.
So the way that you were just talking and the way that we read this, I remember, when I was an alcoholic, and I would drink right when I woke up. I would drink because I was mad. I would drink because I wanted to celebrate. I would drink because I was happy. I would drink because it was a Tuesday. I wasn't chasing any feeling.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be fucked up. I wanted outside of my body. I hated my existence that much. I needed some type of lubricant to make life worth living.
I would say that my drinking got to that point. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, the feeling, I guess let me be more disturbed by the feeling. That's kind of the feeling I was going for. I wanted to feel the ultimate of just not feeling anything.
Okay, because see, when you're like, it was euphoric and we're feeling great. I'm like, that's where I'm like, no, it was never about that for me.
Yeah.
It was never about that. It was about shutting the fucking noise off.
Mm-hmm.
The world is loud. The drink and the drug made it quiet.
Yeah. And I liked when I drank and I got quiet. I did. And I like how you said when I woke up, because too often or not, when you see someone who's in deep denial with their drinking or their use or something like that, yes, I waited till, in the afternoon.
Noon.
Yeah, noon or 3 o'clock to drink. And I was like, oh, did you wake up and drink? And they're like, well, yeah. And that's why we stopped asking alcoholics and, oh, do you use in the morning? We stopped really asking that because it doesn't really matter. Usually now we ask, do you wait? After waking up, do you use? Because there's people who will shave to pieces till 12 o'clock. Because they're like, well, as long as I,
Well, and that's just it. When I was in my early 20s, I didn't really want to look at my addiction like it was an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, what a fucking mess I was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, looking back, someone should have fucking got me some fucking help. Oh, yeah. I lived very far away from home, so nobody really saw how bad I was.
Mm-hmm.
I had raging, disordered eating. I would fucking just drink broth all day and only eat a meal at dinner, and it would be the same meal every fucking day, and it would be at less than 300 fucking calories because I wanted the calories for alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And then I fucking drank, and I wouldn't drink in the morning. I drink at night, once my kids went to bed, but I would fucking smoke weed all fucking day to take the edge off because I just couldn't fucking fathom going through life without something.
Yeah. And I remember the very first time I ever smoked weed or drank alcohol. And I smoked weed first and then I drank alcohol. And both times when I first felt it, I was like, this is the way I want to feel for the rest of my life.
No.
That was for me.
I cannot tell you about the first time I drank alcohol because I grew up in an alcoholic home.
Mhm.
Alcohol was readily available, and my mom will tell you the stories about how I used to snatch beers off tables as a toddler, little kid, and run off drinking them. And then I remember the first time I drank liquor, that I knowingly drank liquor. I think I was like 10.
I guess when I say drink alcohol, I mean like the first time I got drunk. You know, it's funny how.
Nope, can't tell you that either.
Yeah.
Because
So.
again, I grew up in a home, and it does not take a lot of alcohol to get
Mhm.
someone very small drunk.
Yeah. But I remember the first time for me, and it made me, and weed, man, marijuana was one of my drugs of choices for sure.
What I will tell you is that the first time there was only one substance that I ever used, and I was like, I love this.
Hmm.
And almost every substance I've used, though, when I first used it, I was like, I don't like this.
Oh,
And I continued to use it.
that's when you know you have a problem. It's like when I drank Still Reserve for the first time.
Right out the gate.
Yeah, the first time I ever drank Still Reserve, I was like, "Oh, this tastes." And if you don't know what Still Reserve is, just imagine putting piss in a can. That's exactly what it is. But I remember the first time I ever drank Still Reserve, I was like, "This is the worst shit I have ever drank in my entire life."
Do more.
Yeah, I drank it some more. I drank it the next night. I drank it the next. Why? Because one can will get you. It will get you. That's why people drink Still Reserve. That's why they drink OE and stuff like that, you know, because it will get you. And so I remember I saw the homeless guy drinking it, and I was like, man. And I asked the homeless guy, I was like, because I worked at a convenience store. I was like, hey, man, does that really like get you? He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, this stuff's great. And I was like, how does it taste? He's like, it's okay. Oh, my God. I was at,
Nasty.
oh, man. I was 19 drinking. Oh, it was bad.
I think it's really important to note here that, you set yourself up. What people don't realize is when you drink and use, like a true addict does,
Hmm.
it is to get out of your body. It is because whatever has happened, your inability to process trauma, your inability to fucking deal with life on life's terms, fill in the blank, right? For whatever reason, you adapt these coping strategies
Hmm.
using, so you don't have to feel, you don't have to fucking do whatever. You can disassociate way better.
Hmm.
You can go through life without having pain or shame or guilt or remorse. And I remember the first time, not the first time, but the first time I made a true go at recovery is what I'll call it. The first, like when I actually got a couple of years under my belt. Um, and I had been sober, I want to say I got sober originally in March, April, May, June. So just under 3 months I'd been sober. And I had my son, and I was walking in the door, and it was like June. It was early morning, and it was sunny out. And I was like, I want to get fucked up. And I hadn't had a craving in those 3 months. I did not. Like, I went to bed, I slept, I did all the stuff and the things that I was supposed to do, and I was, like, in and out of the hospital during that time for stuff related to my pregnancy, and I had not had cravings, and I was like, I was blessed. I had not had a craving, not a singular craving, and I remember I just walked in the door, and I was like, "I wanna get fucked up,"
Hmm.
and it scared me. I was like, "Where is this coming from?" And I was in treatment, and the treatment center that I went to, I was not attending at the moment because I'd only just had my son, and you were supposed to stay out for 2 weeks. And because I had major surgery, I was actually supposed to stay out, like, I think 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And I was, like, only into that first week. So it was, like, the first week of June because I had him the end of May. And I was like, I have to go back to treatment. I had showed up to treatment, and my counselor was like, Melanie, you can't be here. And I was like, I have to be here. She's like, I will let you stay today, but you have to have a doctor's note that basically allows you to come back early.
Hmm.
You've had major surgery. And I was like, I need treatment.
Yeah.
And I recognized that. So I recognized that because it was a good day. I'd done things. I felt accomplished. Like, it was still early in the day, but I hadn't had a craving, and it just came out of nowhere. And I was like, the fuck? And like this person, I had some time in and out of recovery. So I know that these things come, but cravings are wild because people think like that's a craving, right? I'm sitting on edge. I'm having rumination. I can't get it out of my head. I'm fucking like on the fucking edge, shaking. Like I want to get fucked up. I want to get fucked up. I want to get fucked up. The reality is the craving has started long before you get to that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You don't recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
And because you don't recognize it, because you don't talk about it, because you don't acknowledge it, because you just stuff it down, it only grows. So by the time you're there, that's like a fucking 8, 9, 10.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get to a point where you recognize it at a 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. You know, I was 2.5 years sober. I think you know the story, but I was 2.5 years sober, and marijuana is one of my drug of choices. I mean, I get it. Some people listening to this, you're like, how can we be your drug of choice? I'm telling you right now, I was so bad with marijuana that I used to pawn my dad's DVDs 5 at a time to get a dime bag. You got problems if you get marijuana, one by the dime. Then also back then illegal, still illegal in Florida. And then also on top of it, anybody had it, I was going to hang out with them. Then third was like, I think my biggest drop down where I was like, oh my God, was that like I was staying at my dad's house at the time and I had an air mattress and I tried pawning the air mattress that had stains and holes and stuff in it. And I was like, can I pawn this for $10? Oh man, you're trying to pawn your air mattress for weed?
You
Like,
might have a problem.
yeah, for real. Get it. Hey, guess what? Probably like 50% of people who smoke weed, it's addicting to the point where is it really a problem for you? It's probably not a problem
Right.
for you. You smoke weed, you go to work, you do what you need to do.
And you have to look at addiction. You have to remember addiction is classified by negative consequences associated with use and continued use. So weed is the one thing that
Yeah.
I can take it or leave it. I'm not gonna pawn steal DVDs and pawn DVDs for a fucking bag of weed. No offense, Kelley.
Yeah.
But I have seen people like throw away their lives, rob houses, throw away their children, and have some serious negative fucking consequences. And I'm like, for marijuana.
I was 2.5 years sober and I drove to a marijuana shop here in Washington State. I was sitting there outside the marijuana shop, 2.5 years sober, and I was sitting there thinking, like, I think I'm gonna smoke weed today. Like, I was really excited when marijuana got legalized. I got out of the army, and then like it was 6 months after getting out of the army, I think, or something like that. And I was like, can weed really hurt me that much? And I called my sponsor at the time, and I was like, hey man, he's like, what are you up to? And I was like, well, I'm outside this marijuana shop, and he was like, oh, really? And he knows my story, so he's like, yeah, Kelley. I mean, do you think that's like gonna help your recovery right this second? I was like, I don't know, man. He was like, why don't you come to this meeting that I'm at right now? I was like, I mean, that sounds like an idea, I guess. So I drive towards him, and he was like, I was like, what's up, man? He's like, what is up with you? Like 2.5 years sober, and you're just like gonna go out and just smoke some weed. He was like, I mean, I guess you can. You can do whatever the hell you want, Kelley. And
But it's even when I met you, you're like, yeah, weed's my drug of choice, and I was like, what's wrong with you? So for you to be like, I'm gonna smoke weed, that was pretty like, wait, why are you gonna relapse?
Yeah.
Why would you choose to do that? And I just want to make a delineation here for there are lots of people in recovery who smoke weed.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna tell you that you're not in recovery if you smoke weed.
Yeah, California sober.
Well, I'm not even gonna call it California sober.
I don't call it that either. That's what I heard.
I'm gonna call it sober, right? And Washington sober, California sober. There's all kinds of all these different things. Sober is sober to me. Your recovery is your recovery. I know people who used to fucking do heroin all the time and now they fucking drink here and there. Cool for you. That's not my story. I can't do that.
Yeah.
If I drink, I'm gonna do other things.
Yes.
And I'm gonna fucking dip out on my life. And I'm probably gonna kill myself. That's real life consequence. But I know lots of people in the rooms of a lot of anonymous programs who utilize marijuana for a variety of different reasons, whether it's medicinal or recreational. Not my job to tell you can't do that. Not. But then there's people like you. You should never smoke marijuana. I will tell you, Kelley, you cannot smoke marijuana.
No.
You are not sober if you smoke marijuana.
No, and I would say that when it comes to for me and marijuana and stuff like that, I don't have no other problem with other people smoking weed, right?
Yeah.
That's them. And then as far as recovery goes, I once had a counselor friend of mine. We were going to TC together, and he said, hey Kelley, I used to do heroin like hard. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, going through all these courses and everything. He was kind of like, are you saying that I have a problem with alcohol if I drink after I had a problem with heroin? I was like,
You can.
I mean, I was like, was alcohol ever an issue? He's like, no, I drank maybe like once or twice a year before when I was doing heroin. I was like, okay. I was like, did you ever have any problems or consequences due to alcohol? He's like, no. And I was like, okay, well then, because we just got done doing a class and it had to do with, diagnosing and stuff. And he's kind of like wondering. And I said, but you heard the class that because your heroin addiction, if you drink alcohol, you're at a 50% likelihood.
It's cross tolerance because they're both depressants.
Yeah. And so if you drink alcohol, and it also depends how much you're drinking, what you're drinking, and like, you're drinking to get messed up and all that stuff. But just you taking a simple sip of alcohol will put you at a 50% likelihood of doing heroin again.
Right.
And so you are taking a risk every year because he used to drink during the Super Bowl. He would have a beer during the Super Bowl. So every year during the Super Bowl, you're at a 50% risk of going back to heroin use.
Because people don't understand it lowers your inhibitions. It activates the reward pleasure pathway, hijacks it right away. And once your inhibitions are lowered, you're more likely to make impulsive decisions. Heroin sounds nice.
And here's the deal is that you're thinking like, oh, I'm at this party. Nothing's going on. My inhibitions are now lowered. It isn't like, oh, so I'm going to go do some heroin. And then you're just like trucking off to go find some heroin.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like, oh, hey, my buddy over here that I didn't know was doing heroin or doing cocaine or something like that. They're off to the side. Your inhibitions are lowered. You're like, oh, hey, oh, yeah, I like that.
Do that.
Yeah. And that's how it happens. It's not, I had a beer and then all of a sudden you're just doing heroin now. It's because now you've made decisions because when you drink alcohol, your inhibitions are lowered. You make decisions that you normally wouldn't. And that's every human being. Like, it doesn't matter who drinks. Like, that's what alcohol does to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so when I explain it, and don't get me wrong, that counselor to this day, he still drinks alcohol during the Super Bowl, which is fine, And for me, I can't do marijuana, I can't do alcohol, and I can't do pills. I'm a downer 100%. And so when I had my teeth taken out, I told him I almost didn't want no pain medication. I have my wisdom tooth taken out. No, I take that shit back. I when got my pills, it hurt so much. And I'll tell you now, I love how opiates are given in this country nowadays. Because before, when your teeth used to get taken out, they used to give you 30-day supply back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Me, I could only get like a 2-day supply, and then I needed another 2 days, and he was iffy on writing me the script. He was like, I don't know. I'm like, dude, it hurts a lot. Yeah. So I mean, like,
I have a prescription for barbiturates, and my one doctor had no problem giving me my barbiturates. I've been on this medication for over 20 years. I take it sparingly. I'm talking like I get a prescription of 20 or 30 pills twice a year. Right? Like I don't take them all the time. And one of my neurologists is like, well, those are highly addictive and you have an addiction history. And I'm like, have you ever had a fucking migraine? I'm not doing those fucking addictively. I need that shit to fucking feel normal. I'm never going to abuse that medication. I promise you that. I've been on it for 20 fucking plus years. Don't you think if I was going to abuse it, I would have abused it by now. Yeah. Even in addiction, I did not abuse that medication. That should tell you something.
Oh, yeah.
Does that mean I'm going to go fucking get some fucking other barbiturates and take it? No, it doesn't. And I guess I always had that mindset, like, I really want this medication to work when I need it.
Well, he's talking about being on benzos, and I'm guessing he was probably given benzos because of probably tapering.
Well,
not tapering.
I highly doubt that because he says I tapered my benzos from unknown, probably 2 to 3 milligrams.
So he didn't
to 5 milligrams diazepam.
Yeah, so he didn't get it prescribed.
So it sounds like maybe he went to his doctor and said, "Hey, I've been taking these." There are some doctors who I've worked with providers in the past that if they've had a client who's taking street benzos, they will take them and put them on like a lower benzo, like diazepam, and try to taper them.
Yeah. One of the comments is, yeah, cravings can suck. You probably feel like you're missing something or you're off because of pause.
Post-acute withdrawal.
Yeah, post-acute withdrawal syndrome. It will take some time for your brain to adjust. I know it can take a year or two to clear from opiates. Just be patient and welcome the feelings. Things will stabilize in time. And then the guy writes back, I hope so. It's just difficult to manage the intensity of the mood changes and just the intensity of everything. I'm trying to focus on the bigger picture, though. Focus on the life I want because I haven't been living the life for a while. And I'm curious about, instead of focusing on life that you want, what would happen if you focus in on the moment of, yeah, and how, because that's what we focus on when we have people in recovery, right? We're like, so how can you be today? Because if you got one foot in the future, one foot in the past, you're pissing all over the present.
Right.
It's a common thing to say in recovery.
There's a thing he said here. I'm trying to find it. He talks about basically like he misses the chaos.
Oh, I've seen that before. So I had a guy one time that would continuously start. He had like 6 months sober, and he started waking up late on purpose, and he started rushing himself for work, and he started doing things, and he didn't notice it until after he hit 9 months. He started drinking again, and he didn't notice that at 6 months he was actually already in relapse mode. He didn't realize that he was like making himself late or doing this stuff or doing all this, and how he liked the feeling of being rushed, and puts you back in that addiction.
I don't like it.
I know, me neither. I feel chaotic.
So I will admit I like the feeling of chaos. I don't like the feeling of pressure or being rushed.
Hmm.
And people are like, well, how do you like chaos? Well, I grew up in chaos. That was my whole life. So chaos is a very natural place for me. It feels right at home. My central nervous system feels almost calm. And that sounds crazy to say, but that's a reality for me. And so in my recovery, I found a way to make chaos work in my favor.
Hmm.
Like, how do you do that? I'm like, well, I have all these kids. I have this work. I have my own business. I have this. I have blah, blah, blah going on. And they're like, oh my God, like, you're so busy. Like, when do you have time for yourself? A lot of the things that I do are what I do for myself.
Hmm.
Like, when I tell people I have 300 plants, they're like, oh my gosh, your watering schedule must be insane. It's not. It's like this perfect orchestration of like keeping busy, self-care, and chaos all in one.
Hmm.
But it's healthy. It's not like if my plant dies, I'm not gonna fucking fall to pieces. I mean, I might if it's a really expensive one, but I don't really buy those ones. Um, you know, and it's not to where like I have to stay home, I can't go on vacation, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. Like I've figured out, and it's taken me a long time to cultivate this. And some people are like, well, can't you just sit in the peace? Can't you just do this? Can't you just do that? I can. It's very unfamiliar to me.
Hmm.
And I also recognize that that unfamiliarity does not feel safe. I know that it is, and I'm working toward that.
Hmm.
But my chaos is about solitude.
Hmm.
I don't have friends that come over. We don't have like potting parties or doing this or doing that. Like when I'm like in my element of doing my things, I am by myself.
Hmm.
I have people that I do things with around plants, but mostly like I've learned to do this by myself, and it gives me a sense of purpose at the same time. And I kind of have that crazy run around whirlwind if anything happens to those fucking plants. And I have to treat everything, or I have to do all this preventative care. Like,
It's like me, and like I do Spartan events,
mhm,
and I've done them now for the past year, and I've done 4 or 5 events. I'm actually doing, I think, my fifth event or his fourth. I can't remember which one it is, but I'm doing it next
okay.
week. Yeah, I'm doing it this upcoming weekend. It's gonna be in Seattle, so that's cool. I'm be doing it with my son.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, he's gonna be doing the kids event, and
That's your second one together.
he looked so scared the very first time he ever did one. He looked so scared, and then he realized that like it's really on him, and so he had a lot of fun doing it. I tell you, my first event, I was almost like wanting to throw up. I was so nervous, and because I don't do competitions like this, like, I'm not a very competitive sports person like that. And then after doing one event, it was really peaceful to do it. It was really calming to do it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so now I continue to do it, and I like the working out portion. Like I need to work out to stay current with those events and keep doing them. And I have fun when I go to the events too. Self care is job number one. And that's one way I do my self care is going to those events. It's not work to go do them either.
I want to take a moment to pause and point this out. Like, how long are you in recovery before you found this way to find purpose in this kind of chaotic, transformative behavior that results in solitude and self care?
I mean, I guess I would say it's looked different in different parts of my recovery, but I would say probably about 5 years.
Same.
Yeah, about 5 years, and that's something to point out. The guy in the comment pointed out post-acute withdrawal syndrome. You really gotta understand the brain, after doing drugs and alcohol, about 2 years is what science has taught us that really to get clear.
Yeah, but
But to do the internal work, because that's something he talks about, like, his
there's a book.
Rewired.
No.
Uh,
Gorski.
yeah.
Gorski wrote it, and I want to say it's like Passages to Recovery.
Mhm,
And in that book, he talks about the brain remembers
mhm.
the last time you got fucked up.
Yeah.
And so you will actually have increased cravings far past that 2-year mark,
Yes.
on or around the anniversary of your birthday, which is why in anonymous programs, we celebrate
Mhm.
your anniversary. Yes, it is an achievement and it's a crowning achievement that you should be so proud, but we also recognize, and we've recognized for a really long time, your brain remembers. Your brain says, "Oh, I didn't."
That's why people have using dreams.
Fucked up. Well, using dreams, my opinion, are associated with stress. And when you're not being honest with yourself about how much stress you have going on, and you're not talking to yourself about how that stress is impacting you, your subconscious brain is talking to your conscious brain saying, "Remember, this is how we used to make it all go away."
Well, I mean, also too, like I remember doing groups, and a lot of the scientific research would talk about post-acute withdrawal syndromes lasting 2 years, and I would say, "Hey guys, I'm gonna let you guys know, personally as a counselor, I disagree with the science in this material." People were like, "Wait, what?" And it's like, because I truly believe that like using dreams can last as long as
Your whole life.
your whole life.
I break it down to people like this. Okay. Every single second you have a thought. You process, I want to say 60,000 thoughts in a day cognitively.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember. Is it like 16,000 thoughts per second your brain thinks? And when you break down the science, okay? Your brain thinks how to move this muscle.
Hmm.
That's not a cognitive thought. I'm not thinking to tell my brain, to tell my nerve, to tell my muscle, to tell my arm, to tell my forearm, to tell my hand, to tell my finger.
Yeah.
Right? This is a lot of thought without it. This is like we've conditioned ourselves to know how to do this without cognitively thinking about it. The same with breathing, the same with blinking, our blood flow, everything. Right? So there's a lot of thoughts happening on a metacognition level that we're not even aware of. And then there's the subconscious thought, and then there's the conscious thought.
Mhm.
When we talk about cravings, when we talk about that, I said this earlier, I got fucked up because I was sad, because I was happy, because I woke up, because it was a Tuesday.
Mhm.
That became a conditioned response to any type of stimuli I encountered. Therefore, when I am stressed, we should drink. When I am sad, we should get fucked up.
Mhm.
When it is a Tuesday, party time,
Yep.
USA, when you wake up. And so the more stress you encounter, the higher your cravings are, which, and the way that I explain it to clients is when you're having using dreams, that's just your subconscious brain talking to your conscious brain saying, you're stressed.
Mhm.
And I would say for someone, you should understand that that means you're at about a 5 to a 6 on the craving scale.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a using dream? I've had a lot of clients that experience this, so have I. Have you ever had
I
a
haven't. I know what you're going to ask. Have I ever had euphoric recall from a using dream? I have. I personally have not.
That was one question, part of the question. The second part is, have you ever had the negative impacts that usually you get from use the next morning?
So, no, I'm going to tell you one of the interesting things that I have experienced in my using dreams, which is very telling to me. So, there is a fight even in my using dreams on being sober
Yeah.
and getting fucked up. In all of my using dreams, in the 13 years that I've been in recovery,
Mhm.
since I've like acknowledged that I've had them in the last almost 10 years that I've really like been in recovery and done this, um, I can count on one hand how many times I've actually used in my dream.
Mhm.
Most of the time, I'm like trying to find it, or I'm around it,
Okay.
or I'm wanting to do it. It's there, but I'm not doing it, which is very telling to me.
It's interesting. Yeah, because most if you talk to anybody who has using dreams, they end up using in the dream generally. And so like for me, I get a using dream actually once a year. It's not necessarily around my birthday. It can be, but I've also had it at different times in my life. But generally, I get one using dream a year. Sometimes it's been 2 years, sometimes it's been 3 years, but generally, I get one time a year. So there's some people that get using dreams and they actually feel euphoric during the dream, and when they wake up, they feel euphoric, and that's a telling sign of how impactful. You didn't use anything and you feel euphoric. Like that's huge. But for me, I have drank the alcohol in the dream and then woken up hungover the next morning.
I've woken up feeling hungover after like sleeping and it being too hot, but not having a using dream.
So after having my using dream, I've woken up, thought I relapsed. Because you remember, that's how intense using dreams can be. You really think you just got done like using. And so thought I relapsed, and dry cotton mouth, headache, not feeling well. Yeah. The urge to want to throw up. So everything that you would get, as such as like a hangover or just like drinking and then the effects of it after, and so I've had that happen to me quite a few times. I've actually never felt euphoric after a using dream or during a using dream. And don't get me wrong, like I've met some clinicians that are like, the person will be like, yeah, I felt totally euphoric during it, and then like when I woke up, and I've heard some clinicians be like, you got a free pass, you know. because you got all the feelings, but none of the negative side,
right.
you know.
And
side
I think that it's important also because you say I only get a using dream like once or twice a year. And I know people who are like, I never have using dreams.
Yeah.
I have using dreams all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And I'm not going to say like I use more than you or my addiction was crazier than yours. I'm not going to say that. What I will say is I had a different conditioned response to substances. So my brain is often telling me, we know a way to make this go away. We know a way to make this go away. We know a way to make this go away. I had a using dream last night. I wasn't using in my dream.
Yeah.
But I was with people who were using, and I was in a trap house. And I was like trying to get something. And I was like with this person who was like literally beating the fucking shit out of me. And I had like a black eye. My fucking face was busted. My fucking lip was fucking busted open. This was also my life at one point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm stealing something from this person, but I'm also like being with this person, if you get my drift. And like they're doing drugs the whole time. And I'm like, I need to fucking get out of here. I don't know if I was personally using in the dream, but I know everyone around me was using, so that would insinuate I was probably using, and what I was tolerating would say that I was probably using. And I woke up and I was telling my husband it, and he's like, what the fuck do you do before you go to sleep? I have intense dreams, very vivid, and people are like, oh, that's a sign of post-acute withdrawal. I've had intense, vivid dreams since before I ever picked up drugs.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of the reason why I have vivid using dreams. It's just part of how my brain works. Yay me.
You know, one thing he talks about in the post is or what he doesn't talk about, and we talk about in the field sometimes, I think some people, and I'm not going to say it's 100%, everybody's a little different in their recovery, but I do feel like there's a lot of family members out there that feel like, well, if they could just get down to the causes and conditions of why they drank.
Do you really want them to, though?
Yeah, I know, right?
The truth and the reality behind those causes and conditions are a lot more devastating than what people think they are.
And I'll say this, I've had clients who have gotten down to their core issues and everything and still relapsed.
Yeah.
And so some people think the solution is like really good therapy, and that's
it can be.
It can be, and it also depends on your use history too, right? Because somebody, like you said, me and you have different use histories, and so the intensity in which the help you'll need is in which the intensity in which your use and your drug of choice was, and stuff like that. So, like for instance, like if you have someone who's only been drinking for 3 years, they might not need as much help as someone who's been drinking for 25 years.
Right.
Their adaptability to be like, oh, maybe they're right.
You also have to look at intention and willingness and motivation. Those are all factors, right? He says that I have a health issue, so I have to stay clean until at least then. I'm really concerned about what happens after August, because if he's having some type of surgery and he's going to get opiates, it's going to be off to the fucking races.
Yeah.
Whereas like I would say you had way more treatment than I did.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
with a lot more intensity.
Mhm.
Whereas like I I'm not that I was more willing, or maybe I was, not that my recovery was better, but I self-enrolled. I chose
Mhm.
I willingly went. Were there legal consequences potentially waiting for me? Sure, they were months out, because I was pregnant and I knew because I went to treatment pregnant and they reported me for use when I left that treatment agency.
Mhm.
So I knew eventually down the road there would be consequences. Plus, I had a very long CPS record, anyways. So I knew eventually that would all come. But I just remember when I finally got sober, absolute fluke. I didn't want to do it. And then something had happened. And I ended up in the hospital. And I remember my kid coming in and her having to leave. And it was just like heart fucking wrenching. And I was like, I don't want to do this.
Mhm.
I ended up just going to bed and waking up sober every day. And I was just like, I need support. I need to build on this. And then I went to a treatment center. My treatment center closed down in the middle of my
Oh, yeah.
services. And so it was almost like I had all these doors shut out on me, all these reasons why I should quit. And I was like, no, I want to build. And then relapsing and coming back, I didn't do any treatment. And it was more about like all this self exploration and therapy and getting really fucking honest with myself to a level that I had never done in services,
Mhm.
but with support, like minded individuals who held me accountable.
Yeah, I gotta say, I probably didn't get really into it until I got to, because I'm like you said, I did 35 days of Army prison. I did 35 days of inpatient treatment. Then in the United States Army regulations, after that is 2 years of treatment. Now, the reason why the Army set up that way will be called the Addiction Science and Medicine, ASAM. It stipulates in there that if someone does 2 years of treatment, no matter the level of care, no matter as long as they're in treatment and engaged with a counselor that's an addiction professional and such, that their likelihood of sustaining recovery will go tremendously up. And so the Army goes by that. And so I had to do it's 35 days of inpatient, then it's 2 years of treatment. That 30 days don't count for nothing. So I had to do 35 days. I mean, I had to do 2 years of it was like 9 months of IOP, intensive outpatient, so 3 days a week for 3 hours. And then it went down to 2 days a week for 2 hours, and then it went down to like 1 day a week for 2 hours for the rest of my treatment. So the intensity was high. And I'd say it was probably like a year and a half before I got probably a year when I really got like when I started talking to a counselor and I really got serious about talking about like my issues and what what I want to do with my recovery and do I really want to stay sober and stuff. 6 months is when I finally got sponsored, but a year is when I really like thought about how I need to change my life.
Yeah.
And remember, like you said, I came there with legal consequences. Did not want to be sober, not even a little bit. And the thing is that what you come up with, it's not really about that. It's about what you do with it.
Yeah.
Like right now, this guy right now, he can sit here and say, August, I'm having this surgery. I think a lot of people need to hear this. For non-acute pain, ibuprofen and acetaminophen is actually better than oxycodone and opiates for
Well,
non-acute pain.
it hits the same pathway.
Exactly. And it can do the same thing. So a lot of people think, oh, well, I need this. Oh, after the acuity pain is over, unless you have cancer or some type of like long-term debilitating disease that's been diagnosed by a doctor and they say you need these opiates. Because nowadays more doctors are less likely to be like, oh, you do have to have these for your treatment. They'll be like, oh, well, actually, there's this alternative. And so for cancer and acute pain, you need probably some type of opiate as prescribed by your doctor. But after that, ibuprofen and acetaminophen taken together, you can Google it. Just type in ibuprofen and acetaminophen put together. It'll actually tell you the combination in Google, how often you should take it. Talk to your doctor about it, see what they say, and they'll tell you, yeah, that's true. And I had no clue about that until I went to a conference about opiate addiction. I was like, oh, yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't know about that for a while.
Well, I went to that conference yeah,
Yeah.
I was year 3, I think, in the field of an opiate conference. So
That came out a while ago.
yeah,
But it's still like people don't know.
mhm.
Just
Doctors.
ibuprofen and Tylenol together
Mhm.
because the way that it tracks in your brain is they hit two different things. Just like if you have a migraine, you want to take this, but if you have this, you want to have that. And it is important to talk to your doctor because one is processed through the liver, one is processed through the kidneys.
It is crazy though when I have opiate addicts, heroin and opiates and stuff, and they're diagnosed with that, and I'm like, so you talk to your doctor about ibuprofen or acetaminophen? They're like, yeah, I mean, I really don't want to do that because of my liver. I was like, you were just doing like 400
What do you
grams.
think taking Percocet is going to do to your liver? Do you think Percocet is healthier for your liver?
Yeah, like I know that's what I'm like. I'm like, wait, so you're worried about your liver, but you just got done taking like 400 milligrams of Percocet or oxycodone or something like that, and I'm like, what? And so the idea that you're worried about your liver, you know,
Well, your values change when you're in recovery.
yeah, it's just, and no, I'm wrong. And then they're like, well, yeah, it's just the ibuprofen doesn't work as well. And I mean, that's just an excuse we tell ourselves so we can go use the thing we know that will work really well.
Yeah, my husband recently had surgery and they gave him Percocet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oral surgery, right?
no. He had
Oh, that's right.
he had lipoma, and so he had that removed
Mhm.
on his shoulder. And he was like, I told them I'm not gonna need the pain meds. And they're like, you're gonna need the pain meds. And
Yeah.
it was like he's like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's surgery. Like,
Mhm.
and it's one of those things, like this is also why it's important to be honest. And I can appreciate that he's coming to Reddit and he's being honest. I really hope that he's being honest with his support system, with his family. I hope he has a sponsor. I hope that he has what he needs. He says that he's been in recovery before. So I really hope that he has the support system that he needs.
Mhm.
And I hope that he's being honest with him, because the reality is his cravings don't go away.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I mean, and everybody's different, right? About what cravings look like and how they are, the intensity level, and how long you used for too, and what you used. And that might make a difference for different people. There's some people I have met who are alcoholics only for a short amount of time, but their intensity for cravings and stuff were such a high intensity versus someone who's been drinking for like 10 or 15 years sometimes. And I found that really interesting. I've had that happen with a couple people. But accepting the fact that your disease is lifelong, it's a lot of people don't want to accept that. There was this big thing happening a few years ago where you saw a lot of people in the rooms and other rooms where people don't want to say I'm an alcoholic. My name's Kelley. I'm an alcoholic in the rooms. They want to say I'm in recovery, which is fine, whatever. But they all based it around the fact that by saying I'm an alcoholic, I'm giving alcohol the power or something like that. Me and you both self-identify when we're in rooms.
Yeah,
And
I'm paying homage. If I'm in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, I'm going to say I'm a drug addict. If I'm in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, I'm going to say I'm an alcoholic. That's about paying homage to the room that I'm in. If I'm in a Cocaine Anonymous meeting, I might say either or. I'm a drug addict, but I am also an alcoholic.
yeah, and some people in AA say just I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, which you're allowed to say
For
too, And for me, by saying I was an alcoholic and by saying that I was an addict, it gave it less power.
Takes the shame out of it.
It does. That's really what it did for me. It took the shame out of by saying it out loud. The shame went away.
That's why you're supposed to talk about cravings. That's why you're supposed to say, I commend him that he got on here. He said, I want to get pills. I want to get fucked up. I want to fucking. That's what you should be saying. There's a saying in the rooms, and I fucking hate it. Fake it till you make it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Yes, I think that if you're struggling, you should absolutely use affirmations and tell yourself things like you are happy, you are healthy, you are free from the obsession. That is not faking it. But when you tell yourself you're okay when you're not okay, how do you know when you're really struggling if you're constantly lying to yourself? Fake it till you make it is my most hated saying in the rooms of recovery. I think that you should be honest and authentic, because when you do make it to the other side, and you will make it to the other side, you will have a room full of people who got to witness how you did it. Whether that's in an anonymous program or just in your circle, you are giving people the power to see you transform, to grow, to evolve, and what it takes.
The only way I like fake it till you make it is your actions sometimes. That's where I like fake with your emotions, your feelings and everything. Definitely never. But for instance, there was times in recovery where I didn't want to go to a meeting. There was times when I didn't want to do actions I knew that would help my recovery. I think fake it till you make it worse for that stuff. You don't really feel like,
with discipline and consistency. Okay,
yeah,
I can see your point because
yeah.
I need that for the gym.
Yeah, I mean, also too, giving yourself the ability, like you said, affirmations. Like sometimes telling yourself, "I'm a person in recovery. That's why I'm going to this meeting today. I'm a person in addiction. That's why I'm going to this meeting." And kind of affirming it. But I agree with you 100%. Too often or not, we use fake it to make it to say how you're feeling. You should just lie to yourself.
No,
And I don't think we should. And now, as far as actions goes towards your recovery, sometimes you might have to do actions you don't really want to do that will help you in your recovery. But yeah, because I did that in the beginning. I definitely did not want to go to meetings. And I mean, I was more or less forced. And so if you're in recovery and you're wondering about how you're feeling and stuff, you should be, one suggestion I would give is journaling if you're not already seeing a drug and alcohol counselor. And I think journaling is an outstanding way to get out some of your thoughts and how you're feeling.
and if you're not a journaler, painting is another great
Ooh,
way.
yeah. Maybe.
Or just having some sort of creative outlet.
Mhm. Yeah. And it might be something you don't really want to do in the beginning. It might be something you kind of have to force yourself to do.
Over coloring, I'm not a colorer. I'm burnt out because of my own addictive bullshit. But I know a lot of people who color, and it is a creative outlet. And while I don't personally do it,
Hmm.
I've fucking seen countless fucking people color. Helps calm their nerves, calms their agitation, or even just doodling, drawing.
Hmm.
Like lots of like I can't do that. It fucks with my head. But
Hmm.
but I know lots of people who do it and it works for them. And just having that outlet, it's a place. It's a start.
Yeah, and I'll say this: he talks about all the stuff he was doing, like the perfect day and everything like that. But I'm not really hearing enough with coping mechanisms. Right, you're doing stuff to pass the time, but coping
Staying
mechanisms,
busy.
yeah. But what you're talking about is coping mechanisms, which is you know, uh, you know, meditation in the mornings, a schedule. That's something I always tell people early in recovery is having a schedule. I've actually, when I worked at CMAR inpatient, I actually had people because we had our schedule pretty, tight. It was pretty, wake up at this time, go to bed this time, group, you worked inpatient. And so it all went through. And I had people ask me for blank schedules. So for when they got out, they could write in their schedule about everything they're going to do. They even wrote in their smoke breaks. So they'd have smoke breaks after they got out.
I remember when I was in my AA program, I was in one of my first practicums and they said, okay, you have to get a calendar and you have to schedule everything. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I was like, who the fuck lives out of the calendar? And like that shit stresses me the fuck out. My whole life is in a calendar.
Oh, yeah.
People are like, are you available? Can you do this? Can you do that? Like even before we got on here, I'm like trying to schedule like my work thing because there was a mishap in the day. And I'm like, that's not what I have in my calendar. Like, I'm sorry if I misquoted you the day, but this is the option or this is the option. Those other days are booked. I'm so sorry. Like, what are we going to do about it?
Me and my wife, so she has ADHD like I do. And I live out with an electronic calendar. Now, her big thing was, I want a paper calendar. And I just told her, I was like, okay, so we're both at a doctor's appointment. How does this appointment get into the paper a calendar? And she was just like, well, we put in the electronic calendar and then we'll put it on the paper calendar. I was like, it's
So
just,
I have my electronic calendar
yeah,
that I share with my husband, but I also have a whiteboard calendar in my house. What's really important actually is when you put it in your phone, that's one thing. When you transfer it and you're
yeah.
writing it, it actually moves the data in your brain and it stores it differently in your memory. So you are more actually prone to remember that appointment because of how you've moved the data in your brain.
And that's totally 100% true. And I'll tell anybody that if you're someone who wants to remember appointments, you should do that. I don't remember anything. And that's part of my ADHD, right? I don't remember nothing. And I've accepted that. So now I look at my phone every day and my phone will tell me about that appointment. And I will not remember any of my appointments without my phone. So if someone's not in my calendars for work or something else, I'll be like, man, that's. And don't get me wrong, that's not always the
Look
best.
at my phone. I just look at my calendar. I'm like, oh shit, that's going on.
Yeah. So, hey, if you're struggling with addiction right now and you're listening to this, we always recommend you seeking out a counselor, your local treatment center. You can go to, there's a lot of places you can go to find a treatment center. You can go to,
Do online will
yeah,
help you find resources available to you in your county.
in Washington State. And then also too, there's SAMHSA, SAMHSH.org. They have a treatment center finder. You can actually just type in a Google treatment center finder
Mhm.
and it'll help you find a treatment center in your state and city. and you can find, and that's inpatient, outpatient.
Also, if you have a certain kind of insurance, you can call your insurance provider directly and they will provide you with in-network insurance.
Yeah, and so those are always options. And I will say this, that the likelihood of you sustaining recovery completely on your own without outside support is really low. It's extraordinarily low, and not a lot of people have done it. And don't get me wrong, I'm gonna let you know right now, you do it with support or do it without support, it's not, you don't come out better for it. It's not like people who do it on their own have a sustained amount of recovery versus people who do it with a counselor. That the numbers are pretty much the same almost. So in my opinion, if you really want to get the best amount of recovery, it's getting a counselor, getting into treatment, going to a sober support meeting, doing coping skill mechanisms, maybe getting mental health counseling if needed, go get some physical health done by a doctor and stuff, and seeing what they see and getting all tested and everything, doing all the stuff, and really getting all the services you can get to really help you, because you have a disease. We have this disease. It will not.
And the trickiest part of this disease is it will tell you you don't have the disease.
Yeah. The dis-ease of it. I agree 100%. And so by going to treatment, going to see a counselor, going to see your doctor, making sure everybody knows about it, not living in the dark no more. There's a great film called The Anonymous People.
I love that.
I love that film.
I have it.
Yeah, I love that. It really takes the shame out of addiction. And I feel like if you get a chance to watch The Anonymous People, it's a great film. It talks about, people being in long-term recovery and making moves so that people who are suffering from addiction can get the treatment services they need.
And that's why we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's important to talk about it.
If one of your family members had diabetes, would you tell them don't go see a doctor? Would you tell them not to go get their medication? Would you tell them don't do that?
If I didn't like them.
Yeah, right. And so I tell that to people, and they're like, well, wait. And I've actually had clients who had diabetes once. And
it's really funny you use this. I was just using this exact analogy in a group yesterday.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've had people argue with me about it. They're all like, well, no.
It's not the same. And I'm like, listen, if you have type 2 diabetes and addiction are very similar.
Yeah.
These are choice-based action diseases. They started out as choices.
If you get
had negative impacts on your health.
If someone gets gonorrhea, is it less of a disease because they had the sex to get the gonorrhea? Does it become less of? It's a choice-based disease, right? Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, generally, someone with.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I compare it to that too. But I've had groups of people where we talk about diabetes. They try to really argue that fact.
Well, I think another analogy I've heard is cancer.
Mm-hmm.
People don't choose cancer. No, but they choose to engage in behaviors that can get them cancer.
Yeah. Or, after being diagnosed, they come accepting to the cancer. They get treatment for the cancer.
They might even have denial of cancer.
Also, too, think about this. When you think about diabetes or cancer, how do you know you have that? You're diagnosed. The same with addiction. You're diagnosed.
And you have to get treatment.
And you need to get
and you
treatment.
Go into remission.
Yes.
You can have relapses.
Yeah. And remember that word is being changed a lot. We're not using the word relapse as often now. We're using the word recurrence, which is used in cancer.
We'll end with this. If you or someone are struggling with addiction, please reach out. Help is available. This space is meant for anyone. Sometimes it's messy, but hopefully there's always a message.
And that's all we got. Thanks for watching.